It's not easy to picture craftsman Jim McPhail in the button-down world of big business. At least now. Today, he wears what might be called comfortable clothes and works in an atmosphere of his own making, filled with the rich aroma of exotic woods being turned into something wonderful. That something is McPhail's handsome layered wooden bowls, and it all began as a hobby.
I started doing this as a recharge your battery thing on the weekend at a high-pressure corporate job, and ended up doing it for a living.
The bowls that Jim creates are rich with detail from a creative mind that somehow sees the bowl that eventually will emerge from a series of production steps as a finished product, beginning with the selection of the several wood species that go into each piece.
There's no material in the world I know, particularly a natural material, that has the differences of color and texture and the like that wood does. There's 800 or 1,000 kinds of wood in the world, and it's really fun to work with. These are some of the more than 200 kinds of wood I have here in the shop. Really interesting bunch of textures. This is Bacote from Mexico. It has this wonderful stripe in it. And African blackwood, you see it. It basically looks as dark and as black as ebony, but it's not endangered. It's pretty expensive though. Then can't miss Purple Heart. Purple Heart is this beautiful purple wood that comes from Brazil. And it's so prevalent down there, they use it for making packing crates, believe it or not. Wood is my palette. I can use the different colors, so I don't look at them as being imbuya or blackwood. I look at them as color and texture. And I can combine them together to make my bowls.
That process starts by gluing the squares of wood together.
So what I do is to first take an accelerator, which makes the glue glue real fast. I spray it on the piece, and I take the glue and I spread it on the bottom piece in kind of a pattern, a circle. I push it down onto the veneer and kind of squeegee it around to get rid of any air bubbles and the like. And it's already set. CA glue sets almost immediately. To make sure it's all done, I give a little spray around the edges and I cut off the excess. Spray it. Take the glue again, and it takes about 20 minutes to 45 minutes to glue each bowl. Squeegee it around, and it's a fairly tedious process. And you glue it layer by layer by layer until you've glued up the entire bowl. Then I pick up a compass, I turn a circle that'll let me see what diameter actual bowl is going to be. The next step is to put a post or waste block onto the piece.
Now comes the fun part, turning the block of prepared wood into a work of art.
I shape the outside first, which gives me the overall look of what the bowl is going to be. The inside of the bowl, when it's turned, it really is kind of, even after doing several thousand of these bowls, it's quite a revelation. As you turn into it, the color starts changing. You start seeing each of the layers that you glued up, and as much as you know they're going to be there, it's still a kind of a fun surprise. Because it's really fun to watch the bowl inside emerge. I spent 30 years as a graphics designer and learned an awful lot about color and color combinations and texture. I kind of draw on that knowledge. Whatever combinations make a pretty bowl are the ones I like best.
Next step, finishing.
I coat the inside and outside of the bowl with a super glue that's real thin, and it puts a really nice, even, regularized surface on the bowl. Then I polish with a product called Micro Mesh, the space-age product used by the Air Force to polish windshields on F-18s. It makes wood look beautiful.
Then it's time to separate the turned bowl from its support pedestal, a process called parting.
You've got to be careful with it. You can make a little mistake and scratch the bottom of the bowl, which basically destroys it. And you got to have your hand ready to catch it, because if you don't, it'll hit the floor. It's a dramatic 15 seconds in your life when you part a bowl off.
Well, the only step remaining is to sign the bottom. And of course, if you're as meticulous as Jim McPhail, you also write down everything you've done.
And this shows you all the different kinds of wood I've used in each one of these bowls. And what I do is, when I cut the corners off the bowl, I sand them down nice and smoothly. I put the bowl number on the piece, and then I can later go back and identify what the woods are. I've even had people call in saying, I have one of your bowls, what are those woods? And I can always tell them because I've got the reference.
There are bowls that you have to flip upside down to see some of their hidden beauty. There are lidded bowls. Some appear to have maps on their sides. And all have one thing in common. Each bowl is relatively small.
It's kind of funny. Small bowls are for two reasons. I'm not able to do really big work because I've got a hip condition, and I can't stand up at the lathe and turn great big bowls. The other reason, I do this for a living.
It's like throwing a pot in wood.
Yes.
Almost.
Yes, very much. And it puts the product at a price point where people can afford it.
Well, I love your finished products.
Well, thank you. At first, I had a really hard time selling stuff, because when I really liked one, I didn't want to sell it. And after a while, you begin to realize, I can do another one.